Hello YouTube, my name is Zach, and today I'm going to be analyzing Roy Khan. You guys have requested this guy so much, and after the live stream last week, I figured, you know what, it's just time to do it because there have been so many people tell me to analyze this guy. I don't really know a whole lot about him. I've listened to a tiny bit of Kamelot, and I actually had to reach out to one of my voice students, Michael Eastwood, who has a YouTube channel you should check out as well, by the way. I had to go to him to even figure out which songs to go with, and he recommended me this one because it's really unedited. It's raw. I think Roy Khan was singing this at a concert, so we're good to hear his voice in its fullest glory without any kind of editing or post-production or pitch correction or anything like that. So my analysis should be a lot more accurate with regards to the way that he produces sound. Now, before we get into this is a quick little preface. If you don't want to listen to this, then just go to the timestamp in the video and it will get you straight to the action. So for those of you who want to hang around and listen to this stuff real quick, it's been a crazy past couple of days for me. My webcam that I just bought died. In case you can't see the quality decrease in my video, the webcam died, so here I am using my old one again. So I'm sorry if the video quality is bad. I've got to figure something else out on that front. Also, if my energy level isn't super high today, I had one of the craziest experiences in my life last night, and I'm kind of having like an adrenaline crash from it. It involves I've been driving Lyft, and I got a passenger in my car who ended up having to have the SWAT team come and escort him out of the car. And it was one of the craziest experiences of my life, and I'm still kind of like out of it. So if this video doesn't seem quite as energetic or doesn't seem quite as like upbeat as some of the other ones, I'm sorry. It's just something crazy, and there's been a lot of stuff happening, and I'm kind of just a little down, but that doesn't mean I can't give you guys a vocal analysis. So on that note, as you all know, or some of you don't know who haven't seen my videos before, this is a completely objective analysis. This is based strictly upon pedagogic principles. This is not my personal feelings as to whether or not I think Roy Khan is a good singer or whether I like the sound of his voice. This is strictly the types of tips I would give Roy Khan if he came into my studio and wanted to take voice lessons. My approach to teaching voice is based upon concepts of vocal sustainability and long-term hygiene and health, not trying to sound like the most epic singer in the world or not trying to sound operatic or anything like that. It's just about good, solid, healthy vocal hygiene. So, without further ado, this is Roy Khan performing at a wedding, and the name of the song that he sings is A Sailor Man's Hymn. And I don't know if Kamelot wrote this song or not. I don't know enough about the band to know. I don't know where this song came from, if it's a folk song or what. It sounds kind of folk songish, but I also haven't listened to the whole thing all the way through, so this is going to be kind of more reaction video-ish since I've only kind of listened to this in pieces. So anyway, without further ado, here we go. This is Roy Khan. Good posture.
Can you hear the silence resound from the coastline of Ireland tonight?
Okay, so just in this first phrase, one of the key tenets of him singing in this range of his voice that I can hear is that he does a really good job of just letting the sound sit. And what I mean by that is that it's a common thing for a lot of baritones and basses. And now I don't know for sure if he's a baritone or not, but just as a general rule, it's a common thing for baritones and basses. Like when you get down to that range, like when you get down in that range, you want to kind of and push. You know, and that feels really bad. But the more refined baritones, the ones who develop some technique, have learned to not push the sound down there and just kind of let it float. And you don't have to make the sound come out. You don't have to push very hard for the sound just to be resonant and reverberant. And so he does a good job of not pushing the sound out down there. You would have been able to hear the difference in that there would be a very strong sense of unevenness in the tone compared to when he sings the higher notes. He also did a really nice movement into his head voice in the end of one of those phrases. So he's got some good control. There's no doubt about that. I can already give you that synopsis of things right off the bat.
It's the song of a promising heart, of the souls at the ocean unite.
Yeah, so this is really nice. He has that nice seated low sound, but then he moves up and it moves into a very nice mixed voice. It sounds like he's singing maybe somewhere in like the B to C range. Yeah, maybe that's like A or B. That's probably like the low end of my passaggio as a baritone. But it sounds really nice. It sounds like he's got a really good sense of control moving from his modal register into his head voice. And I haven't listened to him singing in a pure full falsetto or anything like that. But I would definitely say that that's like getting into the heady mix category. So he's moving into that mixed voice. It sounds really nice, really good control. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Roy Khan had some formal training and then kind of just decided he wanted to go into metal instead. So if that is true, you can definitely see it in little things like that, how easily he navigates from one part of his range to another and how he kind of like sits on the low sound without really pushing it. It's just some really fundamentally sound technique that he's doing. It's good stuff.
And she stands by the window.
So I think he sung the word window, and we've kind of gone over this in a video before, where you don't have to go window. You can say window and make the actual I on window sing. When you're singing, you want your vowels to be what speak for you. The vowel in when you speak words and sentences is kind of what makes the word make sense. If I talk like that all the time, you don't know what I'm saying because the vowels have no definition. So if you say window, I guess people would infer that you're trying to sing the word window, but it's, why leave that to them? Why not just sing window? Why go window? I don't know. It's not like damaging to the voice or anything. It's just kind of unrefined and it just sounds kind of sloppy.
Steering into rain, she's trying to guide us way home from the waters, keep them apart, so she lights up a candle, hope to be found.
Yeah, man, this guy's good. So I think that the best way to describe this is that he's really navigating his passaggio very well. He's moving in and out of his head voice with effortless ease. And I can tell that the approach to singing that he learned was probably based in bel canto principles, or the same school that I came from of singing. And the way that I know this is that when he moves into his passaggio, when it moves up into his upper register, he doesn't try to widen his mouth way too much. He keeps his embouchure nice and small. If anything, he closes it a bit. And this all alludes to this whole like hourglass idea of vowel shaping, which is a very complex subject and kind of outside the scope of this individual video, but the general idea is that you are most efficient with your vowels in your high range when you close the vowels as a male. Now, as a female, things are a little bit different. But for men, when you're moving up into your passaggio, if you start closing your vowels more, and not closing your mouth, but if you close your embouchures, like use more rounded vowels like oo and I and stuff like that, you're going to have a much easier time navigating those higher notes. And there's a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of theory behind it, but it's not something that I'm going to go into right now because eventually I'm going to make an entire video giving a lesson on the whole hourglass concept. Another term you might hear in conjunction with it is vowel modification. And vowel modification is used by singers everywhere. So it's not like this is something that's, I'm just coming up with off the top of my head. This is a known technique that the classical singing community uses everywhere in the world, everywhere you go. And in every voice part can use vowel modification. So he's definitely showing signs that he understands how to use vowel modification when he moves up into his upper parts of his range. So good on him. He's definitely well trained.
Captive of mind by the darkness around, the massive mountain she never will know. Timeless awaited, the praise
Okay, so Break of Dawn, there was good and bad in that. So if you go back and listen, so if I rewind it to where he sings break, you'll hear like this, like this really kind of like stiff sound compared to the rest of it. That's a sign of underneath the mouth, like jaw tension. So let's go back and I'll play it for you again. Right here. You can hear the break kind of went from break to like it almost went to this like a instead of a break. So the difference is that the second time that I did it, I'm demonstrating what happens when I tighten up the bottom of my mouth. It obscures the vowel and it sounds a little pushed. You can also see a little bit of neck tension building up here too. So when you combine the two, for whatever reason on that specific phrase, on that specific word, he doesn't keep that same nice alignment and freedom and lack of tension. He tightens up a little bit. So, if you keep listening, which I'm going to go to again in a second, I think on of, he goes nasal. He pushes into his nasal cavity. And like I've said in some of the prior videos, usually nasal resonance is a byproduct of having a high larynx or something to that effect, and your body's trying to avoid tension by placing the sound into a resonance chamber that's easier for the voice to navigate in. And in this case would be the nose. So I'm pretty sure that what's happening here is he's got the jaw tension and he feels it as he's about to go into this word dawn, which is more open. So to kind of bridge the gap between the and the ah, he puts it in his nose, and it releases some of that pressure off of his larynx and off of the bottom of his mouth. So let me just let you listen to the phrase again, and I'm going to point out something about the word dawn after that that's on a completely different vein. So yeah, so you hear the nasal on the word of. It's like break of dawn, and then dawn is nice and open and resonant, right? So what happened there? Well, on the aw vowel, it almost has an O in it, like dawn, break of dawn. And what that is a vowel modification. So in that part of his range, instead of going ah, he wanted to go daw, aw, and kind of close up the vowel a little bit more since it's higher. And as a result, he got a really nice sense of resonance out of it. And so this is another allusion to that whole vowel modification concept. And I know that this is a little bit more complicated than the videos I do before, but the thing about it is when I analyze classical singers or classically trained singers, I can go into these concepts and know that they're consciously using them. And so I can kind of show you some of the tools in the tool shed that people that have been trained classically use. So vowel modification, he uses the word, on the word dawn, he used the vowel aw, dawn. And you hear that nice resonant vibrato that's real. And if you watch him when he sings it, he doesn't like shake his jaw like Bruce Dickinson or anything like that. It's actually a clear vowel with clean resonance and clean vibrato. So good stuff. I mean, he's got a couple of tension issues, but for up to this point, this guy's like legit. Like, I mean, I would consider him like able to sing legitimately in a classical setting. Now, one thing that does work against him in this particular setting is that he's using a microphone. So you can't call this particular style of singing true like bel canto or operatic singing, mostly because the purpose of classical singing and bel canto singing is to kind of sing to the room, and the acoustics of the room, and microphones obscure that a little bit. So just the fact that he's using a microphone takes this out of the classical sound or the classical technique. So I don't want you to walk away from this thinking, oh, this is an example of someone singing operatically or classically. He's utilizing classical techniques and principles in a non-classical setting, essentially, is what's happening here. So even there where he says, can you hear? So if you listen to that, the here, he keeps his mouth very closed. And if you watch, his mouth is very closed. And what he's letting happen is on the can, he keeps that seated sound and just pulls the resonance up in his mouth. Can you hear? And he doesn't have to push. And that kind of shift just happens so naturally and so easily. And that's just that whole legato concept that is so heavily preached in bel canto singing. He's got this really natural sense of resonance, really natural sense of line and legato, and that just allows him to navigate those intervals so easily. So absolutely great stuff. I mean, this is like really good. And if I want you guys to tell me a little bit about in the comments, if I'm not mistaken, he had some kind of injury or something and decided to leave. I did watch briefly a concert of his with Kamelot where he was singing in a metal setting, and strangely enough, a lot of these things that I'm praising him for technically sort of went away. Like he wasn't using as solid of a technique, and there was a lot more tension. He had more flat pitches. It looked like he was straining a lot. And as an aside, I think that there's a lot of pressure for metal singers to kind of be these really tense, like aggressive singers. So as a result, they sort of abandon the techniques that they know are healthy and that they know are sustainable to fit that edgy sound. And if it is true that Roy Khan's voice kind of took a decline at some point, and so he left the band as a result of it, it would make a lot of sense to me, because what he was doing in Kamelot was much more physically imposing and demanding on his voice than he is in a setting like this. And that's the choice that a lot of people have to make when they go into singing settings where they have to do unhealthy habits. Like, you have to decide, like, is my voice worth singing this stuff? Is his role in Kamelot worth his ability to vocalize the rest of his life? And it looks like he made a decision to say no.
As it comes with the rise of the tide, it is somewhere the rainbow begins. As it comes forth, the tears she has cried.
Yeah, he does a lot of closed vowels when he doesn't need to, and that's just something that it's just a taste thing. I mean, I like to hear vowels when I hear people sing because I want to hear the words. And if you just close all the time, if you close on everything, it just, I don't know. To me, it takes away from the ability to hear the words. And so it's a preference thing. Some people might like the way that sounds, but I've always been taught, let the vowel do the singing, because singing and speaking are the same thing. You're just making vowel sounds and everything else around it is shaping it. So, that's my view on that, but you're free to have a different opinion if you like the way that it sounds with the closed vowel. I mean, that's totally on you.
She remains by the window alone, staring into the rain. She's trying to guide his way home.
So there he went, guide his way home, guide his way home. He did like that. And on the O vowel, he went home. He used more of an oo. And it's the same concept. Moving up in the range when you move into that passaggio, into kind of the head voice, mixed voice type stuff, he closed the vowel. He didn't sing home. He almost said home, like an oo and an o combined. Excellent example of vowel modification to make that easier. I mean, everything I'm seeing about this guy is just telling me that he absolutely makes these kinds of decisions. He's doing this consciously. If he had just done it once, I'd say, yeah, he got lucky and just happened to sing a comfortable vowel. But the fact that he's consistently modifying the vowels in ways that make logical sense in terms of our modern understanding of how the passaggio works and how embouchures work, he's doing this intentionally. So, I've said this a lot about singers, like various things are like models for ways of singing, good and bad. But especially the case in Roy Khan here, I would definitely say that his approach to singing this particular song is an excellent thing to follow with regards to understanding how to place different vowels at different points in your range. For sure. He's got good posture. His diction is kind of and I don't like the way that he sings his vowels, but when he closes, but when it's open and when he's actually resonating, it's great. And I haven't even gotten into his larynx type stuff yet, which I will at some point in a bit. But so far, this is just really, really good, solid stuff.
Keeps on praying for God to protect him. She lights up a candle for hope to be found. Captive by the darkness around.
Okay, so there's a little pet peeve of mine. When he went round, when he sung round, he went round, he went round. So when you go round, what that does, if you listen, it puts out this extra expulsion of air. Round, you go round instead of singing the word round. Round, he puts out this extra air, and it's not the end of the world when you move from one note to another without putting that. We call that an aspirate H. When you don't put that aspirate H in the middle of it, it just makes it sound more connected and more legato. But the technical upside of it is that it keeps your air. Like when you go round, all of a sudden to make the huh sound, you've got to push a bunch of air back out. So you kind of lose some of your support because you don't have as much air underneath you when you do that huh. So when he sung round, I'd rather hear him just go from the beginning of the vowel to the next note without putting the H in the middle of it.
Each way you promise that you will be born. Sunrise comes so sad to break of dawn.
So for there, he got a little bit pitchy, like he started getting a little bit flat, and actually what's happening is there's some tension that's starting to build up. Like if you look at some of his physical mannerisms in his face is starting to tense up a little bit, his neck is starting to tense up a little bit, and as a result, you can hear his larynx raising. And now I don't know if it's the other way around. It could be that he's just singing this with high larynx and it's causing the tension, but it could also be that he's feeling tension, so he's raising his larynx to kind of help mitigate some of that. But as I've said in some other videos, when the larynx is raised up, the vocal tract is smaller. So with the vocal tract being smaller, some of the work that is normally done by the extension of the vocal tract, when like the whole tract is longer, by lowering the larynx, all that extra work that would be relegated out to the extra space that you have is being put all into this tiny little space. So you have to push a lot harder to project and to make sounds. And so it's hard to know. It's like one of those chicken or the egg type things here. I don't know if the facial tension is making him raise his larynx or if he's raising his larynx, which is making him tense up elsewhere. I'm not sure, but either way, he's singing this particular part with a raised larynx. And the way that I know that is because if you listen to some of his stuff prior in the song when it sounded very robust and rounded and sort of full, that's the byproduct of having the extended vocal tract. Is you've got, the lowered larynx, it gives you a more robust, a fuller, thicker kind of sound. And when your larynx is very high, it tends to sound tinnier and thinner. So I know that he's singing with the high larynx here, and I just don't know. I don't know if the tension is a reason or if he's creating tension by not lowering his larynx. But either way, this little section he hasn't navigated quite as eloquently as he did the other ones with regards to his approach to vocalization and using vowels and keeping everything even.
She lights up a candle for hope to be found, captive of my.
So on the word candle. So we had one of these things where you could hear that he tried to do the vowel modification like candle, but he ended up kind of overdoing it and it created tension. So I think it's hard to say, like with him kind of showing these issues just within one song and having that same kind of inconsistency. I don't know how old he was here, but the first thing that comes to my mind is that baritones in their like mid to late 20s and like even their early 30s, like my age, we tend to have a hard time doing like navigating stuff like that consistently and being able to keep it even over an extended period of time. So I don't know how old he is, but my first guess would be that he just hasn't quite learned to keep that position stable with everything yet. And so what he's doing is when he sings candle, he's trying to keep that. You can hear him go candle, ul, instead of candle. You can hear him go ul to try to keep that vowel more closed, but it isn't quite as effective, and you see tension show up on the sides of his face because that particular modification didn't work. Now, again, this could go back to the high larynx thing because he is singing with high larynx again here, and I don't know what could have caused him to make that just sudden shift and from the right consistently like middle place to low, like neutral to low larynx to just this always high thing. Maybe it's just he gets wrapped up in the song and he doesn't think about his positioning of everything anymore. I don't know. I don't know what it is. And it's not like he's singing bad pitches. That's not the issue. It's just some of that freedom and efficacy of his sound that he had earlier is just kind of like it's just sort of like faded a little bit. He's still singing reasonably well when it comes to like the way that he's vocalizing the pitches, and he's got a nice sense of legato and musicality still, and so I would not say that he sounds bad, but some of the qualities that he was consistently showing at the beginning of the song have kind of faded a bit. So not sure what could be causing that. I can tell you what I'm hearing, but I don't know what inside his mind is causing those things to sort of go away. So you can see his forehead here, like his second ago, was tensing up a lot more. And even on the word round a minute ago, he went round. He like really widened his lips out a lot, which is something he wasn't doing at all before. He wasn't widening out that embouchure like that at the beginning of the song. Everything was very tight and compact. And now he's kind of like going outside of it a little bit. Again, I'm being super nitpicky. This is like advanced level vocal analysis. So like if someone came to me wanting to work on an Italian aria and they were auditioning for like a college somewhere, this is the way that I would look at it, because these are the types of like refined concepts that we have to use when we talk about classical singing or technical singing. Now, the health correlation to this is that anything that causes strain or tension is destructive in the long run. Even if it takes 20 years, if you strain something over and over and over and over and over again, you will damage it. So we look at things that are as tiny as just the way that you vocalize one vowel as like something that can be improved in terms of maintaining your vocal hygiene and sustainability. So this is much more advanced, and I apologize if some of you feel like this is really, really technical and really wordy. Hopefully I'm presenting it in a way that's understandable, but this is really I love this. This is like what I live for. I love doing this kind of analysis where I can really get to the fine, nitpicky, nitty-gritty details. This is what I love to do. So I'm enjoying myself. I hope you guys are.
She never will know timeless. She lights up a candle for hope to be found.
Yeah, so on the word B, instead of B, whatever pitch it is, I don't remember. I think it was B. Yeah, instead of saying a B, he went B. Like you could hear this like almost like a guttural sort of thing. And so when I do that, when I go B, I feel my larynx push straight up to the top of my throat, and I feel my jaw tighten all the way through here. So that's exactly what he's doing. He's pushing his larynx up and he's tightening his jaw. And I don't know. I don't know what's caused this drastic change. Maybe he thinks that the affect of the song needs to change because it's like the second chorus and it's the end of the song. I don't know, but the first part, the first half of the song, his approach is far more desirable from the perspective of vocal health and sustainability than the second. Although some people may argue that the second half is more expressive. And I mean, I can understand that and I can get behind that. My goal as a teacher would be to help him take that level of expressiveness and keep it within that kind of like freedom. It's funny because I'd say control and freedom in the same sentence, but like that amount of control that gives him that sound, that free sound, that open sound. So ideally, I would like for him to have the expression plus the control and freedom at the same time. So right now, it sounds like he's kind of polarized. He's got like the more expressive sound over here, and then he's got the really free sound over here in terms of his vocal technique. So I would say that at this point he needs to kind of find a merge between the two so that he can deliver the second half of the song with the same type of fluidity and efficacy that he did the first half.
Captive and blind by the darkness around.
Yeah, just look at how much more he's opening his mouth. You don't have to do that to be able to sing higher pitches. If anything, like I said before, with the hourglass model, which he's shown he understands, you can keep the vowels closed and sing in those higher pitches just as efficiently. So all that extra opening of his mouth is absolutely causing tension, and it's making it more difficult for him to vocalize. I mean, his face is even starting to turn a little bit pinker than it was. Like, you're starting to see little veins bulge out in his neck, things like that. So, you know, I could speculate all day as to why he's kind of abandoned his approach to the beginning of the song, but this is closer to how it sounded and looked when he sung the Kamelot stuff. And I can say for an absolute 100% fact that this approach to singing is more prone to causing vocal damage than the way he was singing at the beginning of the song.
Each week a promise, a new hope we know.
Yeah, so if you look at that, when he sung New, you saw those veins just, I mean, it just like all popped up there. And he turned his head to the side and went, New, he got this weird embouchure that's just all tension. Like if you just turn your head and you touch right here, you can feel things get tight. And so then when you go like that too, it's just all tension. So, that's definitely what's going on here in this half of it.
Sunrise consoles the break of dawn.
That's so weird because when he got back to the word dawn, he did that open kind of sort of like resonant thing again. So I don't know. That's really, really, really interesting. And I guess maybe it could be as simple as this is a case where for the second half of the song he said, I'm going to abandon my technique and just sing it with just more like reckless abandon, so that I can create a more aggressive or less refined sound. Maybe that was his goal. Maybe it was his artistic choice to do that. And if it is, then that's fine. That's totally fine. And I would rather him, like if he had an interview about this video, for him to say, oh yeah, I did that last half with all that tension and stuff on purpose because I wanted to create a different musical affect. That's fine. That's totally okay. My goal is to get my voice students to that point to where they can say, okay, yeah, I'm going to kind of let the technique go just so that I can, just get a specific kind of vibe across for now. But, I know how to do that technique. I just want to let it go for now. That's totally okay. And if that's what he's doing here, then, it makes perfect sense as to why his technique would all of a sudden seem so unrefined compared to where it was at the beginning. And if that's the case, then kudos to him. That's a good thing that he can make those kinds of conscious choices. I don't know that for sure either way, so I'm just giving you I'm just giving you feedback based upon what he's doing. But hopefully that gives you some insight in the way that I think about this stuff. Nitpicky thing, don't cross your arms when you're waiting for a song to end. That makes it look like you're closing yourself up to the audience. Like, generally speaking, and this is like a classical thing, generally speaking, you want to keep your body open to the audience. So when you do stuff like close your body up, that kind of like hurts your line of communication with them, so to speak. Super nitpicky. This is a wedding. It probably doesn't matter that much, but that's just a little thing, whatever. Okay, so that's the end of the song. So very good. Roy Khan is terrific, and I can't believe that I hadn't heard this guy before. I think I'd heard him maybe once, but what I heard didn't really grab me. But I'm very impressed with his approach to technique and understanding of the vocal mechanism, particularly in the first half of this video. Like I said, we can speculate all day as to what caused the technique to kind of like fade at the end or kind of go wayward, but he clearly shows that he knows what he's doing in a classical sense, not just in like a, have good posture, stand up straight, don't squint your face up. Like, he understands the nuance of classical singing, bel canto singing, vowel modification, legato, evenness of tone, seating the voice on the low end, navigating the mixed voice to help move into the passaggio and move above it. All those types of things. Using your larynx to kind of volley your pitches and having more depth and sound, raising your larynx when you want to have the sound to be thinner. Just things like that. He's got a great understanding of it that he makes very clear through this particular video. If you guys have any other videos of him that you'd like for me to see that I might can kind of get a better idea of his sound, please link them to me in the comments. Also, give me some sort of a little bit of a mini history on him. Let me know, like, what happened to his voice. Let me know kind of where his voice went. Did it go downhill? How old is he? About how well is he singing now compared to how he was when this video was made? How old was he when this video was made? Just some general stuff like that. So yeah, good stuff. I really enjoyed this, and this was an interesting analysis. Probably the most fun I've had analyzing a singer up to this point, just because I got to really delve into the stuff that I listened for when I have more advanced singers. So good stuff. You guys know that I do have a Patreon. I give voice lessons. You all know that. Hit me up in the comments. I'll leave my Patreon down there. Please subscribe if you can. It helps me out. My webcam just died that I just bought, which is absurd. I don't know if I got a return policy or not, but I'm definitely going to find out. And again, if you didn't watch my preface to this, I'm sorry if I was kind of low energy level today. It's been a rough past few days, so I'm still kind of like trying to just let things flow and just sort of, stay relaxed. And so, if it seems like my energy level was a little bit lacking, I apologize. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I'm probably going to be at 500 by the time this video propagates at all, but I'm halfway to 1,000. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and I cannot wait to make another video for you guys next week. Take care. Bye.